My name is Martin. I'm here with Square, small business and community advocacy team. We're going to be going over how to bring your brand and business online. This is not, Square specific. This can work for any website builder you're using out there, any platform you're wanting to build. So it's not necessarily, Square specific. I do have well over now, almost a dozen years now in the domain name website industry. So a lot of my work has been in the e-commerce space. Obviously, last year much busier due to COVID and shelter in place and lockdown. So we're going to be talking about today. For us, it's crucial here at Square that we help our sellers understand the importance of owning their own online store, right? So there's a couple of key reasons. One, when you own your own web store, you have full creative control, right? You can iterate on merchandising, how your products look, how you're going to describe them, and just really ultimate control over the vision. Second, you have control on price, right? So with marketplaces, which serve a purpose, there's usually commission fees for finding customers. But with your own online store, you have control over your price and a complete control over your margins. Third and most important, you own the relationship with your customers, right? I really want to reiterate how important it is that you own that relationship with your customers. With some of the other platforms, you don't necessarily own that relationship, right? It's your brand, it's your name, but at the end of the day, that marketplace owns that relationship. So as we talk about, your website and the purpose of your website, right? The somewhat obvious reason for what you think a website can do for you here, right? On the left-hand side, some of the more common purposes I hear from talking with folks. On the left, attract traffic and grow an audience, showcase your products, share what you know, right? Advertise your business, really some of the more common issues there. I do see someone mentioning that I'm frozen. Am I still frozen for folks? Kate, is everything okay?
Martin, you look fine to me, but I am checking it out. But if it looks like Martin's video is frozen, please send us a message in the chat. But I think you're good to go, Martin.
Okay.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of not frozen now. So
okay. I think it's Susan. Might just need to refresh. So we'll just keep going here. While all those are great reasons, to have a website, they don't necessarily help you do anything specific, right? Which is why you want to turn that purpose into a goal, right? The goal is the real reason why you want to need a website. It's what's going to happen as a result of you having it, right? So we see on the right-hand side here the goals, right? So when I hear folks say, I want to showcase my products. Really, it's just you want to sell your products, right? You want to sell more of those. You're not showcasing them just to have them look nice. You really want to start selling them, right? You want to share what you know. At the end of the day, maybe it's because you want to become a public speaker and you want to book more speaking engagements, right? Having that end goal in mind for when you're building your website is really going to help you in that journey. So once you get really kind of to the heart of why you want your business online, we're going to go over next really some of the content you need to make that happen. And so first up, we're going to review some of the basics that really any successful website should have. And so we'll go over these here. Number one, a logo, right? If you have one, and you definitely should, it should be displayed right away, right? Make sure that when your logo fits into your brand in every way, especially with colors, right? Just think about, we're all consumers here. We've all spent a whole lot more time online this a little over a year now. Think about your own experiences, right? When you go to a website for the first time, usually the first thing you're going to see is a logo, either in the upper left corner or right in the upper center there, and that's intentional, right? You want to show that, give that social proof, right? Oh, okay, this is the logo. I recognize the brand. This is who I thought I was going to visit. The second one here, the search box. It's a big one, especially when it's in the upper fold, and that's the upper fold. When we refer to that, that's the top part of the page of a website you see before you have to do any scrolling down. So whether that's on desktop, laptop, on mobile, what you see before you have to do any scrolling, right? That's what we call the upper fold, right? Simply having the option to search, helps put buyers at ease, even if they don't use it, right? It's it's a transparency cue for buyers, letting them know that, okay, he's not hiding anything, he can just search for anything at any time. Your footer, right? Studies show that after a person visits your website, after looking at the logo, the main navigation, and the main image in your header, they're going to scroll down through the website kind of in a Z formation, and they're going to end up at the footer. And that's a great place for contact information, your phone number, link to your email, social media links, maybe even a newsletter sign up form. Right? So speaking of social network links, right? This goes really to social proof and things that are familiar, right? Buyers are going to do some investigating into your business, and that means looking at your activity on social media, right? The header image or the primary image, or sometimes referred to as your hero image, right, is one of the first pieces of content your visitors are going to see on your website, and it really does play a key role in grabbing a person's attention and establishing a connection. Again, this is that first image you see before doing any scrolling. Again, that image really can give your website, personality, make it stand out from your competitors, or really showcase, your product. Mobile optimized, right? This is very, can't stress enough the importance of being mobile. Shopping from smartphones, major driver of e-commerce sales. The percentage of sales coming from a mobile device, we see that go up year over year, and it only continues to do so. We did a recap of 2020, and we found that for Square and Square Online stores, 80% of the sales that went to Square Online websites were from a mobile device. 80%. So that's just an astronomical amount. Security, SSL, right? So a must-have for any website, especially if you're taking payments, right? This helps protect you and your visitors. This is the padlock you'll normally see in the address bar of your browser. Sometimes you'll see it'll say HTTPS, right? The S standing for secure. Most browsers, Google and Firefox especially, if your website is not secured, will give an error message or have a big red X there showing that it's not secure and warning folks to not visit your website. And then last, standard pages, right? So when you're thinking about building your website and you think about visiting websites that you go to regularly, it's all pretty standard stuff, right? Your home page, about page, a shop or product page. Those are standard pages that any site will have. The names might be a little bit different, right? You can get creative with that. And of course, you can have as many pages as you want. So I'll just take this question from Frank before moving on. Talk about being mobile optimized. Most website builders today, that's going to be a major component already. So if you start to, if you're looking at building a website for the first time, you'll want to double check with whichever provider you're using if mobile optimization is automatically included, right? So and most up-to-date website builders automatically include that. Most of them are going to be mobile first by design, like I said, just because it's such a huge portion of online visits. So that's you'll want to just double check that when you're building your whenever you choose the website builder that you go with, if it's mobile first, right? Most of them are. But there are a few older platforms that you have to have a separate mobile site, or you have to design it separately on mobile. We're seeing less and less of that, but most today will include that. All right, so next up, so that's just some of the standard pages, some of the standard things you'll see on just about really any successful website. Let's talk next here about what to consider when registering your business's domain name, right? So your address on the internet. The most common domain extensions, right, being .com, .net, .info, right? These were some of the first domain extensions that were available to the public, which is why so many sites use them, right, and are most recognizable. So let's look at some of the things you want to consider, right? If you're using slang or words with multiple spellings, right, it makes it harder for your customers to find your site. For example, the one I see a lot is the word express, right? Whether you spell it with EX or just with the X, right? If you're not actually sending somebody a link to your site or giving them a business card with the correct spelling on there, maybe you're just verbalizing it, they might forget how you spell it, and maybe there's a competitor with a similar name, and that domain name goes to their website. So just be cognizant of that. Okay. Same thing with if your domain name is too long and complex. You risk your customers mistyping or misspelling it, right? Short and simple is the way to go, as much as you can, right? Numbers and hyphens as well, often misunderstood. Is it the number 5 spelled out, or is it the numerical number 5, right? Hyphens, folks tend to, forget about those or misplace them and end up at a different, website, or even just to an error page saying it doesn't exist. If you don't have a unique business name, then consider using keywords that describe your business and the services you offer, right? Do some research around it. Good example, like, in San Francisco, right? If you're, I just had to have my windshield replaced today. Let's say you're a windshield repair company in San Francisco. You could do like, San Francisco window repair, right? Or San Francisco glass repair, something like that, .com, right? Something that is keyword, something that someone would just type into Google to search for, and it ends up at your, Mark's, windshield repair, business name, right? So that would be something where you use keywords versus just your business name to kind of help with your optimizing of your search engine, right? Getting more traffic. And then, choosing a domain name that's catchy and memorable is essential, right, to your overall brand scheme. So I'll highly recommend, once you come up with a good name that's available, I recommend blocking that in, even if you think you might change it, right? Domains are pretty inexpensive today. I mean, most domain names are $10 to $20 per year. You can only register domain names in yearly increments. So the minimum you can do is 1 year, right? So $10, $20 for the year. Maybe, a month from now, you get a better domain name. There are domain names that folks purchase, they register in advance and then sell. What would be considered like a premium domain name. They register them in hopes that someone will buy it from them. Those are also some options for you. So now that you have your domain name locked in, right, what can you do with it, right? Number one, obviously connect it to your website, right? That way you have a unique address on the internet for folks to find you and direct them to. Number two, create custom email addresses, right? So instead of putting a Yahoo or AOL or Hotmail address on your business card or on your website, now you can do, info@mynewdomainname.com or president@ or sales@ anything like that with your custom domain name, giving you a much more professional look and feel. And then third, when you do get a good domain name or register your domain name, I'd register your social media handles to match, right? Your Instagram name, your Facebook, your Twitter, anything like that. Use your domain name to match, your social media handles as well, giving you a really consistent experience all the way around. And then speaking of social media links, David asks, how do social media links work? Normally in your footer or on your page, you're just going to have the logos of each of those social medias, and it's just going to link to your actual profile. All right. So a big one nowadays, right? So when you're shopping online, you're paying really close attention to the images, really subconsciously, right? You often don't realize it. We know that product photos are important. And we've done research around that, right? We've done surveys of our sellers and folks who are looking to get online. And over 80% of e-commerce shoppers have said that product pictures are influential when they're deciding whether they want to buy a product online. Conversely, right, over 25% of online product returns are because the item looked different than the photos. So you want to have a really sharp and accurate representation of your product. And most will say, the old saying, a picture is really worth 1,000 words. If I can't see it, I can't make a decision about it, so I'm normally not going to buy it. Right? If you don't have a good photo or no photo of a product and you're trying to sell it online, it's going to do very poorly. So let's look at some examples here. So this one here, this is my before example of this board game here. And the green background itself is not necessarily bad, but the reflection within the image itself is very distracting, right? So it looks like the board game is on like a glass tabletop, and so that's kind of giving a mirror effect with that background. And then that pattern is there, right? So it kind of makes it a little distracting. If we take that away, right, the same photo with an all-white background, no reflection, makes the product really stand out. Those colors here really pop, right? And then so we talk about like the images here, right? So like I said, this is going to be your standard photo on the internet, right? All white background, what we call the Amazon effect. When you go to Amazon, you don't see any backgrounds at all, just white. And again, this one here, although the color is great, you can definitely use some color there. Like I said, really what's just distracting there is that reflection. So just some best tips and practices when you're taking product photos, right? Keep testing until you find what works for your product photos. What works for one thing may not work best for you, but just keep testing, right? I mentioned the white backgrounds, but if you're looking to build a unique brand, right, for your site that stands out, you can definitely consider using bright colors, prints to match your overall brand, as long as it doesn't interfere too much with how the image itself appears. Nearly 2/3 of our shoppers say that multiple camera angles are going to be most influential in helping them make a buying decision, right? And then over half of those same shoppers said showing close-ups or even distance shots are important to them to get a really good look here. And just when you think about that, right, you're thinking about your product photos. No one can, when we think about the in-person experience, right? If you have a physical product, they can touch it, they can see it. If it's a bracelet, they can try it on. Some of your product photos, when you see jewelry specifically, right, you see it. It's on a wristwatch, right? It's on someone's wrist, a ring. They're showing it on someone's hand to really give you that overall look and feel of, oh, that's what it would look like on me, right? Giving them that kind of future stating of, oh, that would look good on my wrist as well. Artistic considerations aside, right? Use lighting that brings out the best representation of your products, whether that be natural lighting, studio lighting, right? Again, just really testing until what works best for you. And then queuing up the next slide here, where we'll discuss, some really common uses for video. Right, and as we know, right, nowadays, video is the king of content, right? So we're going to look at some of the most used types of video in marketing today. Right? So if you're looking to increase your brand discoverability, right, educational videos are the best type of content to achieve that type of goal. Gear your video towards product benefits when you're doing product videos. That'll help resonate more with your audience, right? Not just explaining a list of features, really letting them know how that product is going to benefit them. And then everyone wants to feel like they're a part of a great story, right? Using company or culture videos to tell yours, right? Really show them, the real people on your team, right? Help humanize your brand and boost trust. FAQ videos, right, should help answer the most common doubts amongst your clients. A clear FAQ video can make your prospects' doubts disappear and get them ready to move forward with the purchase. Testimonial video is really powerful. Help build up your brand trust by showing your clients or your past customers, right, talking about their initial pain points and how your product or service solved that for them. I really love testimonial videos just because they're about you, but they're not from you. Again, that goes to that social proof. Oh, it's not just Martine's website company talking about how great they are. It's this my neighbor or someone in the community that says, oh yeah, I did try their product or service. I did try their food and it was amazing, right? That really holds a lot of weight. And then how-to videos, right? I mean, that's the popularity of YouTube can really attest to that. They're great because they show your prospects looking to solve a particular problem, and a how-to video can really help do that, right? So that's when you want to definitely use how-to videos. Maybe you're using YouTube as a marketing channel as well. Maybe a YouTube channel is full of how to use your specific product or how your product solves a specific problem, right? I go to YouTube all the time for how to change. I had to change the tail light in my daughter's car, right? I went to YouTube and put in my make and model and found it exactly, and they had links to purchase the actual light bulbs from them, right? So when we talk about next up here, our next slide here, calls to action, or what you may refer to seeing like in marketing speak, a CTA, right? You really want to use call to actions to guide your users to your site and down a path to do business with you, right? You really could just be driving away audiences and losing opportunities if you're not using those correctly. So when you think about a call to action, think about someone walking in your store and the signs that are in your brick and mortar, telling them where certain products and services are or where to go, right? That's a call to action. You're not there on your website to tell them what to do, so you're using buttons or phrases to do that, right? So the two main purposes of your call to action, should be to tell someone what they should do and give them the motivation to do that. Right here we have an example of a call to action on Square's website, right? You'll notice the blue button really stands out from the dark background. Your eye is really drawn to it immediately. And again, this is above the fold, right? You don't have to do any scrolling down to find that button. We'll have other calls to action below that in case you do scroll down. We have that front and center there, right? It's telling you start a free online store. It's not maybe, or please, is just straightforward to the point, calling that to action, right? So you really want to place your calls to action where people can easily see them, ideally at the top or the center of the page, right? Make them stand out by using larger font, bright colors, contrasting colors like we have here, right? Tell people exactly why they should subscribe if you're doing, a subscription newsletter, right? Perhaps they're going to enjoy special offers, exclusive content, discounts, right? What's in it for them? You could even use a call to action to drive your prospects, to watch one of the videos that we just discussed, or to go to one of your social media channels to, maybe you're driving them to watch your Instagram live where you're talking about your new product and showcasing it and showing it off, right? So, and of course, who doesn't like, free stuff, right? You can use calls to actions to get, free discounts, freebies. Maybe it's, an ebook or a white paper or anything like that. Right? Think about your own buying behaviors when you're going to a website and what makes you, put in the email address there too, because, that once you put your email address in there, you're going to get something, right? You're going to get something back. You've entered into what I like to think of a social contract, right? I'm telling you, if you, sign up today, you're going to get 25% off your next order. I'm going to be expecting that email, in my inbox after I type in my email address. A good place to use calls to actions is in your email marketing, right? In 2020 alone, over 300 billion emails were sent and received each and every day. I love email marketing because it's really just a tool that you can't afford to use because of the value it really brings. And people ask, well, what is it? Simply, it's just using email, to promote your products or services. That's it. And there's a ton of different email marketing programs to do that. But it's not just that, right? It's a great way, a great email marketing program, I think, is a great opportunity for you to create and or deepen relationships between you and your customers, right? And still to this date, one of the most cost-effective forms of digital marketing out there. So if you're just getting started with an email, with the website presence, or you think, oh, that maybe I shouldn't do that, I would definitely recommend anytime if you're getting a website up for the first time, definitely just add a pop-up or even maybe in your footer, right, a place for folks to sign up to receive information from you, because that will just build up your email list, and then eventually, to where it gets to a bigger point, you can start, sending out emails once you're in it and really, have something to offer. I get folks all the time really, feel weird about doing email marketing because they think, oh, I don't want to be a spammer. I don't want to do that. Yeah, definitely don't be a spammer, right? But again, when you put that on your website, there's nothing forcing someone to add their email address in there. It's, again, a social contract. If you're putting that on there, so you say, hey, I'm going to send you, give us your email for our monthly newsletter. Okay. I know I'm going to get a monthly newsletter. If I'm getting a daily newsletter from you, I'm going to mark you as spam and I'm going to unsubscribe and I'm going to be left with a poor customer experience, right? So live up to what you're promising there. If you're going to give me, a monthly newsletter, send me a monthly newsletter. I know that when I sign up, I'm going to get that. That's why I have a specific email address that I use to sign up for offers from websites. So, when you're talking about, what kind of email should I be sending, right? Think about, what do I look forward to in receiving in my inbox? What can I share that my customers might not know about me or my product, right? If I were my own customer, what would I find interesting, right? These could be personal stories about a product, or if you're a restaurant, it could be the chef's inspiration behind a new dish, or, news about the industry you're in, right? I'd like to say if you're informing, you're already being interesting, and it won't feel like an advertisement, right? Even if you're not ready to start sending emails, definitely want to include, those, start building up that list of interested users. All right, so social media, a big one here, and really still evolving. So I like to say, no social media account can replace your website, which I like to think of as your digital home, right? It's the center of gravity for your online presence, right? So we're going to review what you can do so that you can be successful with social media marketing, right? Number one, do your research, right? On which social networks does your target audience hang out? Where are your competitors, right? What does each network offer you? Don't be on every single network posting the same exact thing just because you want to be on there, right? I go to YouTube specifically for some things. I go to Instagram for others, and Facebook, for others. So don't just be on them, all of them, just to be on them. Really figure out what's going to work, best for your business. Right. And then number two here, defining your strategy. As you all know, right, goals help us give direction, and then also know how we've succeeded, right? So what does it look like? What is it you want to accomplish with social media? Your goals shouldn't just be followers and likes, and we'll get into that here a little more. Maybe you want to generate a certain number of new leads, drive a number or a percentage of new website views. Perhaps it's a certain number of inbound calls as a result of having a call to action to call in, for a quote, right? Those types of metrics that you want to look at. And then it's not simply enough for people to simply see your social media content, right? You want them to listen to it, engage with it. So it helps to ensure it's not just all about you, right? If they're commenting or asking questions, be sure and respond and answer as much as you can. Right, I know that can be daunting because maybe you're just a sole proprietor and you're thinking, man, I have so many other things I'm worried about. I don't want to answer. I don't have time to do that. Right, start off maybe with one channel and work your way up. That way you're not making too much work for yourself. Right, they're following you because you're sharing interesting information. They find your business interesting, and so that creates opportunities for you to engage and relate with your clientele. So for the next two slides, I'll break them down on their own slides because it's a bit here. So when we talk about creating shareable content, this content's going to be really similar to what we refer to as video content, because it can be the same. Those videos could be the content you're sharing, right? How to video. It could be a video demo. It could be photos. Anything like that. Inspirational content, you see that a lot out there now, right? Folks really trying to make someone's day, motivate them to action with inspirational content, right? Emotional content, right? Like in the example I have here, a greeting card company, for instance, could show a child opening a birthday card from his grandparents, as a reminder that email and video calls aren't everything, right? Sometimes you want to just hold something in your hand. Reviews, again, that goes with reviews and testimonials, right? It's not from you, but it's about you, and that carries a lot of social weight when people are considering to do business with you. And then again, the insightful content, right? Don't miss out on that opportunity to share insights, right? Don't be afraid to get a little personal, right? Show your followers what's behind the curtain. One of the most followed hashtags on Instagram, for instance, is hashtag BTS, which is behind the scenes, right? It could be a restaurant, for instance, will really showcase their dining room, right? How awesome it looks, how clean it is, their plates, right? How perfectly set up. But maybe you want to show them behind the curtain and show them the kitchen, and someone peeling all the potatoes for the day, or someone washing dishes, or the crew really hustling to get food out, right? Showing them, man, there's a team of people back here that are really working to provide you with a great experience. Maybe you're a jewelry maker and you're showing them, your workshop, and showing them all the tools that you use and all the things that go into, that bracelet or that ring or that necklace that they're purchasing from you. So when we talk about measuring success on social media, right? How do you know if your work has paid off, right? What does success look like? Right? Are you getting a return on your investment? These are some of the metrics you'll want to consider. Followers, fans, and views on their own, right? They don't mean much, but they certainly give you a sense of your overall reach. So when you're looking at marketing to those folks, right? Do I have 100 followers, or do I have 1,000 followers? Do I have 10,000 followers? And then you're going to know, right? If I close a certain percentage of those, or a certain percentage of those buy from me, I'm going to get this much in business, right? So that's where those numbers really kind of come into play. Engagement, right? Are people responding to and commenting on your content? This is what makes social media such a powerful platform, because you can get business level accounts on Instagram, Facebook for free, right? They're going to give you stats on all of your followers. They're going to give you all this data, all for free. Shares, right? Look, when you look at that data, and what content is motivating your followers to share it, right? Is it the emotional content? Is it the inspirational? Is it the how-to? Right? Which content is really resonating? Clicks, right? Are they following the links in your post, right? You'll see in the bios a lot of time, click the link in our bio to check out our website, right? Are folks clicking? That's a call to action in itself, right? So if you're calling folks to action, are they clicking on those links? Okay. And then once if they're clicking on it, are they completing the action that you're asking them to? Are they, buy now, shop now, buy today? Are they doing that? So you can see, okay, they've clicked on this. How many are actually, doing that? Maybe if you're getting clicks but no action, maybe the wording on the button needs to be, sharpened up a little bit, or maybe you want to test with some different verbiage on there, right? So when you look at the landscape of social media, there's no question it's vast, right? And I understand that can be overwhelming, especially for a small business unfamiliar with the topic. But if you take the time to learn it right and do it right, by being authentic, right, offering content your audience craves, responding to and building relationships with their followers, it can really help generate some really big returns. Like I mentioned earlier, just in overall in 2020, we saw over 50% of online sales coming from a mobile device, and Square websites specifically, that number was 80%. Right, so we definitely know that mobile is the mobile experience is something that you definitely want to be paying attention to. And why is that, right? Your buyers are on mobile all the time, right? Think about your own behavior. Think back to the time you needed to order a last-minute gift, or order dinner for carryout, or made an impulse buy while browsing social media, right? All while on your phone. Right, so how do you prioritize mobile, and how does that impact your approach to getting online? So let's look at that now. Actually, before we go there, I've been doing a lot of talking. I see there's a something in the Q&A here. How do you prevent your website from being defaced or changed? Right, so that's when we talk about security, SSL. Right, so that's the security protocol for an online website. Definitely something you need to have on your website. The other thing is going to be making sure, like, depending on the platform you're using, if you're using any third-party plugins, making sure that those are always up to date, making sure they're coming from reputable developers. That's where I tend to see most of those issues arise from, is because someone is using a third-party app that they added onto their website that may have added some great value, but the developer maybe left a backdoor open, and someone was able to hack that. So just being cognizant of who you're using when you're adding content to your website. Thank you for the question there. All right, so back to mobile, right? The mobile experience creates a lot of focus, right? So first, convenience matters on a mobile device. You're likely multitasking, don't have your full attention. So having clear ways to discover, pay, and fulfill are really crucial. For payment, native pay options like Apple Pay and Google Pay on your phones, right, are requirements, and most platforms are going to include that. For fulfillment, you really want to lean into your local presence and allow something like same-day pickup if you have a brick-and-mortar location that's still open, or local delivery. Right, this can help you really compete with the 2-day shipping, free shipping with Amazon Prime, and give your customers really the intimacy they're craving. Right, we saw, at the start of the lockdowns, just a huge emphasis on supporting local, supporting small business. Right, folks really wanted to support the businesses in their neighborhoods, really wanting to see them make it through the pandemic. So you definitely want to leverage that. Second of all, the mobile focuses the user experience, right? You have the screen size, even though phones are getting bigger, right? The screen size is still much smaller, right? And being shrunk really forces the focus on what's most important. You have just the one column view, less real estate on the page to add extra info, right? And because performance and speed matters, right? So it must be easy to navigate with larger tap targets, right? And additionally, your phone is contextually aware, right? So it can help your buyers find your store and get even directions right to you. One of the biggest trends Google saw last year in their search was terms like near me, right? Pizzeria near me, clothing boutique near me. Those were things that folks were really looking for because your phone knows exactly where you're at. And so it can find what's nearest and closest to you, and you're able to support that business there. Branding on mobile can get really simplified, even for the largest of companies, right? You'll see very simplified color palettes and user experiences, right? When we talk about brand and how that can apply to mobile, it really helps focus the conversation, right? So you're no longer talking about flying animations and moving video, because on mobile, buyers don't usually have that time, right? They want to focus on what's most important. So really focusing on your colors, your fonts, your logo, your domain name are crucial elements there. But also think about how those are being applied, right? Think about the application of that, of how you're using color on that page. In the Nike example here, right, there are some pops of red, which is their main brand color. But in general, the page is very, very clean and simple. You can see they have like that light gray background on all their product photos that stands out from the overall white background of the site. When buyers can't come into your store to touch and feel products, right, they need high quality images of what's available to them. So really focusing on product photography is really key to that mobile experience. Last, the quality of the end-to-end shopping experience really gets overlooked, right? So if you're going online for the very first time, pretend to be your own customer, go through the whole buying experience from front to back to know what your customers experience when they're doing business with you. Look for any pain points, any bumps in the road there, just to make sure everything is as smooth as can be. Lost my screen here. All right, so moving on to search engine optimization. Right, so the goal of what we also refer to as SEO, it's not just getting visitors to your site, but the right type of visitors to your site. Tons of free tools out there for SEO, for search engine optimization, right? Google My Business Listing is free. Google Analytics will give you tons and tons of data, really easy to apply to any website, again, for free. These are, most of them are gonna be Google search tools, because Google is the king of search, right? That's where everybody goes to do their searches. Google Ads, although Google Ads is a paid platform, they do have a free keyword planner, so you can actually look for specific keywords and see if they're getting a lot of hits, if that keyword has a lot of traffic going to it, or if it's a keyword that's maybe not being used that much, and maybe something you can then leverage to use for yourself. So again, tons of free stuff out there. Right. So when we talk about search engine optimization, right, you want to make it easy for search engines to understand what your website is about. Just adjust my screen here. All right, so you would definitely want to make Google believe what you're saying about your business. So you definitely want to add your keywords, right, to your site description. Your product description is going to be a huge factor in your overall search engine optimization, right? Some of the examples here, Kiddo, which is a children's boutique in Chicago, right? They did a great job highlighting the specific types of products they sell. Eco-friendly children's clothes, right? They most likely did keyword research ahead of time to understand that people use different variations of that word. Some might see organic products, that type of thing, right? A Chica, a small Mexican restaurant in downtown Oakland, right? They make sure to add a site image to their overall, to their links. That way, it kind of gives you a picture, right, of their food immediately when you see their ad there. That thumbnail acts like, just there again, we all, and what they say, you eat with your eyes first, right? You see the food, you see that, and it makes you even more hungry than wants to order more for them. So really, when you're building your site out, right, looking at what keywords are going to be most relevant to your website, using those on the page. Your product descriptions are going to be really, really key, especially if you're doing an e-commerce type of website. Really focusing on those product descriptions, letting people know exactly what it is they're buying, because they're going to be typing in exactly what they want into searches, and if your product description has that in there, that's what they're going to come up with. All right, so that is pretty much the end of my slideshow here. Happy to take any questions, any other questions that we have right now. I know I answered the one in the Q&A, but if anyone else has any questions right now, happy to take those.
Thank you, Martin. There was one more question from the Q&A about, do you recommend any books about building a business website, marketing, etc.?
Oh, wow, books. So,
and
I don't know that I have.
put a link in the chat, everyone, to our library catalog where you can see a number of titles about building business websites. And I also want to put a plug in for our LinkedIn Learning, which is free with your library card. Do not pay for LinkedIn Learning if you have an SFPL library card. So we have those resources, but do you have any favorites or any go-tos that you like?
I don't know that I have any go-tos or favorites for books, and I'm hesitant to recommend one. I do read. I have actually a goal of reading 50 books this year. I don't think any of them are on how to build websites, just because I've been in the industry so long, and sometimes when you read them, like, so many things have changed, right? The industry evolves so much, a lot of it. But I would probably focus on marketing books, the latest marketing books. One author I read, I'll go as far to recommend one, is Seth Godin. He's a marketing guru out there. He's got tons of books out there about marketing. But yeah, just do your research. I mean, use the library as a great example. I love LinkedIn Learning, so that's really good to know that you get that free with your library card. For those that don't know, LinkedIn Learning is, you get a lot of experts on there basically teaching you. There's tons of them on there for marketing, social media marketing, and website building. So use those resources first. I would highly recommend those.
Great, thank you. And then there was another question from the chat. You mentioned about having sort of social media links on your business website. How do those links work is the question.
Yeah, so you'll see those on most websites as the social media icons, right? In the footer, you'll see the Facebook, the Instagram logos, and then you just link those to your actual profile, right? Pretty standard. Most will include that automatically. So.
Okay, everybody, we've got the expert here. If you have a question, there's a couple popped up in the Q&A. What is your take on I think that's Squarespace, and for a novice like me to build a website through them? Oh, well, you're certainly qualified to answer that, Martin.
Yeah, so people get confused, right? So we're Square, and there's a company called Squarespace, which Squarespace also offers a website builder, and it's a great one. It's a drag and drop website builder. Most website builders now are going to be that, right? They're going to be geared towards making it fast and easy for you to get a website up and running. We don't want you spending all your time having to learn to code or do any of that. We want to make it. They almost all build themselves nowadays too. So there's tons of them out there that can do that. Most John, I see John here. Most website builders nowadays require almost no coding.
All right, that's good to know. And then David, I'm going to go ahead and put a link in there to some of our business legal resources that might help you with that question about whether or not you need an LLC. I see Steph has a hand raised. Steph, I'm going to click to unmute you. Did you have a question? No. Okay, it might be a little bit hard to unmute, but feel free to type it in the chat if you would like, or use the Q&A.
Yeah, I saw the question you mentioned from Judy about the books. It can be daunting, right? Just because things are changing so much. That's why, a book could have been published 2 years ago and it's out to date, already, because the platforms evolve so much. But YouTube's a great resource for that. the library with the LinkedIn Learning. You're just going to get the most up-to-date information there. We actually get a subscription through that as well. So I've used that a bunch, and I've learned quite a bit from there also.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Do you have any websites that you think have done small business websites you think have done a great job that you would hold up as an example for people to look at?
I could probably get you some examples, and I don't know. You guys do a follow-up email after?
Yeah, we do.
I could probably link some of those. Most of them are going to be Square sites. So I don't want to be biased, but we're all online all day, all the time. We're online right now, and so it passes. When you're online, you can see the eye test there. I mean, you can see most of them are going to be very similar, right? They're all going to be pretty clean, with images being the main focus, and a lot of video content on there as well.
Great. Okay, last chance to ask the expert. Going once. Oh,
I think, Judy, has COVID changed how everyone will now do business? Absolutely. It definitely has. One of those we see in the restaurant industry. So at the beginning of March, right, when the lockdowns took place, when really you started to see a lot of things shutting down because of COVID, something like curbside pickup was not on our roadmap at all at Square. But we started to see that become a demand because folks had to shut down their dining rooms and had to have a way for folks to be able to pick up food in a safe manner. And curbside pickup became that. So that was something we at Square had to adapt during COVID to offer that on our website builder. And it became the #1 way for folks to fulfill sales on our platform, whether it be retail or food and beverage, right? Curbside pickup or just in-store pickup for that. So we've seen a lot of changes. You're seeing a lot more drive-throughs, like coffee shops doing a lot more drive-throughs, food and beverage doing drive-throughs, smaller, for newer locations, smaller dining rooms. Again, more emphasis on ordering online, ordering ahead, picking up that. So we've definitely seen a huge change in that. And most of that will stick. Obviously, we're not going to go 100% back to the way it was. Right? Folks have adopted all of these new buying habits during the pandemic, and a lot of those have stuck. Right, being able to just order food on a whim from someone's website directly. Right, no more calling in to order. It's all done directly from the website or from an app. So yeah, just some of the smaller things that have changed, but it's definitely changed the landscape there.
A couple of questions about domain names. How do I purchase one, and how do I safeguard my domain name?
Tons of ways to purchase domain names. Lots of different companies out there. You can get one through Square. You can get it through GoDaddy, Google. I mean, there's tons of domain name providers out there, and most of them will provide. Actually, nowadays, almost all domain names will come with privacy protection, so it doesn't put your name. It used to be that you had to pay extra for privacy, and when I refer to that, like when you register a domain name, you have to be a real person. You have to put an address, phone number, email. That stuff used to be publicly available online. Now it's all hidden, and only through subpoena, law enforcement, you're able to get that. So there's that safeguard kind of already in place. But there are some other buy-on options where you can lock a domain name where it can't be transferred or moved without jumping through a bunch of hoops. So your domain provider will offer that. Usually it's extra incentives. If you haven't purchased a domain name yet, I would Google domain names. Most domain companies offer a special deal on your first time purchase when you sign up. I know I've gotten a lot of $1 domain names that way myself, just Googling domain names, and you'll see all the different domain providers offering their special for first time domain purchases. But again, most of them are going to be from the $10 to $20 a year range. And again, the minimum you can buy a domain name for is 1 year. The maximum at any time is 10 years, and you just have to keep renewing it. You don't ever just own your domain name outright. Right? So Coca-Cola, they could let their domain name expire and their website would go down, but they pay that. They just keep adding 10 years every time they can.
Well, Frank has an interesting question in the chat. If you purchase a domain name through one vendor, does that protect the domain name from other providers, or do you have to pay for each domain provider?
Yeah, so yeah, that's a great question. So if I buy, I bought martinguerrero.com, right? No one else can register that domain name, right? That's my domain name. Now, someone could get martinguerrero.net, which I also own, but so no, I can't buy martinguerrero.com at GoDaddy. I can't buy that same domain name at Google at the same time. Only one person can register a domain name at any given time.
Thank you. And we have a question from our YouTube viewers. Can you talk about alt image tags and also permalinks?
Permalink. Okay, great. Yeah. So alt image would be, so anytime you add an image to your website, you can add an alt image tag, which is essentially it's tagging that. So let's say I'm selling a red T-shirt, right? And I have that T-shirt on my homepage. I would add an alt image tag to let it know it's a red T-shirt in whatever brand. That way, when you do a Google image search, Google image will know that to show that image as a red T-shirt because of my alt image, right? That also works with if you're using a website reader, maybe for someone who's visually impaired, it will read the alt image tag and let them know you're seeing an image of a family or a dog or a T-shirt, right? So that's that alt image tag that helps with the actual image searches. And then permalinks would be like your domain name / whatever comes after that, right? So if I share a link with you, it might be this huge paragraph link. A permalink is usually will shorten that down, so it's really easy to read. Again, in that example of if I'm selling a red T-shirt, instead of it having a paragraph of text behind it, it's my domain name / red T-shirt brand name, right? Something like that. So that would be a permalink, something shorter and sweeter for it to be easier to read and more memorable.
Great, thank you. And then I hate to put you on the spot, but we also have a viewer who would like to know your thoughts on GoDaddy. Would you recommend GoDaddy?
I do have some thoughts on GoDaddy. I worked there for almost 10 years. So yeah, they're the largest domain provider in the world, the largest domain registrar in the world. So I mean, pretty safe bet to buy domain names from them.
Good deal.
Frank had one. If I purchase the domain name from one provider, when it's up for renewal, can I renew it from someone else? Yes, you can. So that would be a domain transfer. So a domain registration would be the very first time you register a domain name, right? And then at the end of the year, you're now renewing that domain name, right? So if you're getting close to the end of the year and you want to switch providers, maybe that provider is offering you a promo deal to transfer that, right? When you transfer a domain name, that adds another year of registration on there. So you can absolutely do that. You can move your domain name around.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Good question. Yeah.
Okay. Again, I hate to put you on the spot, but can we have your PowerPoint to send out to attendees?
Yeah, I'll send that to you.
Thank you. That's very kind. Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, we have another question from YouTube. Can you explain the difference between alt image tags versus meta tags versus tagging in general, like on Facebook?
So yeah, alt image tag is going to be specific to any image that's on your website. Meta tags would be a description you add for the page. So like if on my home, like maybe my about page, right? In my meta tag area, I would add just a brief synopsis of what that page is about. That would be my meta tag, right? So that would. And that's going to be specific to the page, kind of a synopsis of what you're going to see on that page. The alt image tag would be, again, just describing the image that you're seeing for image searches. I mean, tagging on Facebook would be like, tagging someone in a conversation. It would be that would be something really not in the same vein.
Mm-hmm. A lot of uses for the word tag these days.
Yeah.
So, and where would you add an alt image tag and a meta tag? So how would you go about adding both kinds of tags?
So that would be when you're building the website within like your page, in your page settings. There's usually going to be within Square, like there's a spot for that. Most of them will have spots for that because that's a really common thing to have. Think about like the meta tags when you do a Google search, right? You'll see usually like a name, you'll see the link to the actual website, and underneath that, a brief description. That's going to be the meta tag.
Great, thank you. And then a follow-up from Frank about domain name providers. How would you go about deciding who to choose? Is there a reason to use one provider versus another besides price?
I mean, really personal preference and reputation, right? I mean, obviously there's some of the bigger ones out there. GoDaddy, Google, Network Solutions, I think is probably the oldest one out there. They were one of the first. Yeah, it's really just personal preference.
Thank you.
And then you can, one thing when you buy your domain name, like you can buy your domain name at one place and connect it to a website builder somewhere else, right? So, Frank could buy his domain name at GoDaddy and connect it to his Squarespace or his Wix or Square Online website, right? They don't have to be in the same place.
Okay, last questions, you guys. I think that might be it. Thank you so much for this wonderful overview of how to get going on the web. So important these days for business.
Yeah, it's crucial. It's critical to have a website nowadays. If you don't have one, I mean, you just don't exist almost in business nowadays. So happy to be here, and some great questions. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate it.